Hearing that the North Pole race had been won by the American Robert Peary, the Norwegian explorer Roald Amundsen decided to secretly change his plan. Thanks to his brilliant and thorough preparation, his crew and himself became the first men in history to reach the South Pole on December 14, 1911. Before them, no one managed to brave with success the inhospitable and icy land of the Antarctic. After them, generations of scientists and adventurers followed their path, inspired by their work and experience. On October 1910, Robert Falcon Scott learned through a telegram that the scientific expedition he was planning to the South Pole will turn into a race with Amundsen. A race that he lost, indeed, arriving only 33 days after the Norwegian, contemplating his flag planted on what should have been the land of an unprecedented achievement. Preparing his return home with his companions, Scott wrote in his journal, "The wind is blowing hard. Temperature minus 21 degrees Fahrenheit. And there is that curious damp, cold feeling in the air, which chills one to the bone in no time. Great God, this is an awful place and terrible enough for us to have labored to it, without the reward of priority. Well, it is something to have got here. And the wind may be our friend tomorrow. We have had a fat polar hoosh in spite of our chagrin, and feel comfortable inside. Added a small stick of chocolate and the queer taste of a cigarette brought by Wilson. Now, for the run home and the desperate struggle. I wonder if we can do it." Captain Scott never had the pleasure of another chocolate bar, nor a cigarette. After a series of misfortunes and choices that went wrong, what was awaiting him and his companions was death, in a land he was describing as the eternal silence of the great white desert. Cloudy columns of snowdrift advancing from the south, pale yellow wraith heralding the coming storm, blotting out, one by one, the sharp-cut lines of the land. Yes, Scott could have learned how to use wisely his dogs instead of favoring ponies. Yes, his men should have been more trained on ski. And yes, taking time to collect rock samples on the way seems like an odd decision, when the only thing that mattered should have been about coming back alive. The story of Scott is the perfect illustration of what could be qualified, in a modern way, as a major epic fail. But still, from him, I remember that he was reading David Copperfield to his men to brighten their mood. That scientific discovery, more than racing, was at the heart of his expedition. That one day he was able to form hope and talk about an excellent and filling pony hoosh, and the other to share the extent of his despair and feeling of injustice. What I love about the story of the Captain Scott is this raw feeling of imperfection and attempts and hopes and fails, and still his ability to write. Had we lived, I should have had a tale to tell of the hardihood, endurance, and courage of my companions, which would have stirred the heart of every Englishman. rough notes, and our dead bodies must tell the tale. What I love about the story of the Captain Scott is what he managed to overcome thanks to his sense of companionship. His hope that, even if the outcome was not the one expected, his crew talent, courage, and accomplishments will be recognized in the end. We will fail. We will be the second in the race of life. We might choose paths considered as unusual or take decisions considered as mistakes. Maybe it will be okay. Or maybe we won't manage to reach what we wanted in the first place. We're not superheroes. We're not gods. We're just us, anti-heroes and humans. And maybe these are the only things that matter. At the very end, it could be that the beauty of it is in the effort to try, in the learning, and this echo it may have somewhere in someone else's story. Because we're not perfect, but we have the hope of doing things and all these bonds, companionship that we're creating along the way. Welcome to Transmission, Episode 2, the first one in English, a podcast about the everyday anti-heroes. Enjoy the journey. Two amazing things happened when I reached 7 years old. First, I watched for the first time The Raiders of the Lost Arch. Straight after, I decided that archaeologists or Egyptologists would be the only job I would accept to do as an adult. My granny asked me if being a teacher or a hairdresser would not seem nice for the little girl that I was. I remember answering that yes, I could consider it if it involved teaching how to chase a car full of evil villains while riding a horse in a desert, or becoming the official hairdresser of undercover secret agents. For months, simple puddle of muds transformed themselves into dark, dangerous waters full of poisonous snakes I needed to jump over. And every corner of my parents' garden was secretly hiding an arch. In the end, if my talents of explorer to be only helped to expose poor earthworms that did not ask for anything, that my natural clumsiness had me falling in a puddle or two. Even years after, first notes of the Indiana Jones theme are transporting me to this world and the way I used to see it back then. Open, free, funny, daring. The second thing was when one of my craziest dreams became a reality. The first book as a big girl that I read was called Robello, Vif Argent of Josep Valverdú. It tells the epic and simple story of this white puppy captured by an evil circus owner and going for a long journey to come back home. I swore that if I had a puppy, no evil of any form would be able to steal it from me. I would sleep with the goddamn dog, fight if needed, raise an army of poisonous snakes, and chase any chorus of villains, even without a horse. When the day of my birthday arrived, something really strange happened. as my parents and myself were staying at my grandparents' house. My family, who used to be the first one when it comes to raise the bar of the party to another level for the occasion, was weirdly normal. For hours, they even properly ignored me. The ultimate outrage was committed when my dad offered me to go for a car ride. A car ride. Oh, dear Lord, why a car ride? I asked to myself. What's wrong today? Why is the world so cruel? We drove then, for what seemed to last for years and even centuries, until the car stopped. I was asked to open the door and go outside. And as soon as my feet touched the ground, a pack of barking puppies jumped in my legs. And, silent, staying in its box, far from the excitement of its skins, there was the fluffiest, whitest, coolest puppy I have ever seen. Happy birthday, said my parents. Every time I'm thinking about this moment, I can feel exactly what I could feel back then. The purest type of joy you can experience as a child. These moments when you think, yes, this is what happiness looks like. Let me die now. Like Indiana Jones? Or the memory of my craziest birthday gift. Some people can be the trigger helping you to jump over muddy puddles, to play and write a song in the middle of a park about salty biscuits, to eat too many cheese and cakes and sweets, to run in the streets of Amsterdam looking like an epileptic cucumber. Because this world cannot be only about nasty or sadly absurd things. That it needs sometimes this moment of light to stop feeling the gravity. And Paul is one of them. When I met Paul back in 2018, I was about to be his boss. Before that year, I had never been the manager or the boss of anyone. The very notion of leading people was kind of puzzling me. What was I supposed to do? How was I supposed to manage people when I still had cereal and cartoons in the morning, crafted silly songs about the cats of my roomies, and considered the space buns of Princess Leia as the ultimate hairdo at work? After 1 week just spent freaking out, I considered 2 points. First, and thank God, none of my team members were trained SEALs that I had to prepare for a show, nor robots. I just had to trust the belief that people will use their own judgments in their actions. For the rest, I guess that I only had to think about the worst bosses I ever had in my life and try my best to avoid cautiously repeating action I had suffered from in the past.
A certain king had a beautiful garden, and in the garden stood a tree which bore golden apples. These apples were always counted, and about the time when they began to grow ripe, it was found that every night one of them was gone.
Only my close friends call me Polo, but you can call me Polo.
It was after a few months of my first ride in these weird shoes of manager, that Paul entered for good in my life. He was working for the French Belgium market in Amsterdam while I was in the office of Barcelona. And this guy challenged me in every way possible. The first image that's popping into my mind when I'm thinking about him is this mix of a 10 years old kid in the body of a now 30 something professional adult.
Get ready. Zoom, 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 zoom. C'est à l'école tagadagada qu'on apprend les bêtises. C'est à l'école tagadagada qu'on apprend les bêtises. Paul with me. Bref, je vais pas. I'm not gonna make you listen this one. So this is a French song called a French song by Henri Dess called Les bêtises à l'école. I discovered this when I was older. I mean, this song is really for like 4, 5 years old kids. I was maybe 10 years old, 11 years old. I knew it was too childish for me, but I just loved it. I loved to sing it, and especially with my cousin. Every time I was going to his place, we were just like singing this song together. Yeah, I loved it. It was so joyful and everything.
An adult making jokes like a kid without any restraints or limits in a really, really special way. A year later, when I asked him what would be the advice he would give to his 14 years old self regarding work, the first thing that he thought about was,
be careful, don't be too comfortable with people first, because especially when you start working abroad, if you work abroad, don't make jokes too fast. Don't make racist jokes too fast. Like the French humor is very different than other countries' humor, so don't make too much jokes with the people you work with. They might not like them very well.
the first moments we worked together were quite intense, fun, and simple in a way. Because Paul was just who he was, himself fully, with his 2 slices each day of toasted bread with jam and Nutella, his posts in official, formal channels of multiple cats gifts, his way of working on hardcore projects, asking why black was black or white was white, and arguing on each point, and then just doing it in a flawless way.
I am my role model because I learn from myself. It's like I don't want to be like someone else. I want to be myself. I want to be me. So yeah, I think I'm the best influence I can have. If I make mistakes, well, I will learn from them. And yeah, if someone else make mistakes, I cannot really learn from them.
As a matter of fact, the pure opposite of a trained SEAL or a robot. When entering the Amsterdam's office, you could not miss Paul's desk. There, in the middle of all the perfectly arranged minimalist desks, was standing a central one full of what you could never imagine. Water guns, boxes of cereals, sweets, dildos, plastic crossbows, Play-Doh, gummy bears, diverse framed Photoshop pictures of his colleagues, and so on. Every time someone had a toy, an unusual thing to give, or food, this was brought to Paul's desk.
Okay, I found it. Let's listen to this. I know you're gonna know this one. Yep. Check it out. J'aurais bien voulu pour passer le temps te serrer dans mes bras amicalement, mais le temps qui passe n'est pas à tes yeux un argument absolument suffisant. Alors je reste à ma place et tu restes à ta place. Yeah, so my favorite song in my teenage years was a song by Babylon Circus, a French band, and it's called J'aurais bien voulu. I was listening to it all the time, and I think it's an important one. I choose this one because when I started to when I was maybe 14 or something like this, that was really the moment of my life. I was like, who am I? And the moment I realized I wanted to be different from the others, really. I just starting this kind of circus phase where I was dressing like a gypsy and practicing circus and listening different kind of music. And this music was really like the one you were supposed to listen if you wanted to be different from everybody else, but obviously everybody was listening to this song.
The thing about Paul is that everything is a subject of curiosity and interest. He can have this really analytical mind, like one of his fictional heroes, diving into some Excel calculations and coding that would have just melted my brain. Just because he likes smart boys, you know?
My favorite hero will be Sherlock Holmes. I didn't read the books, but I watched the series. I loved it. I just love it. Like it's kind of I love anti-hero, you know, and Sherlock is one because he has his own weakness and everything. But still like super smart. I love smart heroes and characters in movies. I like to feel dumb. Oh, I yeah, they make me feel smart actually because I'm like, yeah, I knew it. And I like smart boys, you know. Sorry.
He's as well this guy, juggling with tangerines, playing on his ukulele, ending up on weird corners of 9gags.
It was video I found on internet on 9gag because I spent all my time on 9gag. So I found a video of this mother pranking her little daughter. The mother is on the toilet and she asked the daughter to bring the toilet paper. And when the little girl, gave her the toilet paper, her mother put some chocolates on her arm. Sorry for French pronunciation. And so the little girl thinks she has poop on the arm, and she starts to like say, "What the fuck? Like, really, is that poop?" What is even more funny is that she really wants to vomit, to throw up, and she's like, "Ugh, ugh." And that's very funny to see a little girl doing this. I advise you to look for it on Google. Just look for a mother pranking girl poop. I guess you will find it with that. I hope.
And he is this one as well. Being like a kid, aware that maybe things are not meant to last forever. That this precious moment of happiness, friendship, love, should be preserved and enjoyed before they disappear.
I was living in Amsterdam and I met amazing people who really helped me and gave me hope during very difficult time of my life. Really great friends, best friends I could have. I spent the next 12 months just enjoying my life in Amsterdam, discovering that I can find happiness in friendship. Oh, and yes, so I was very happy, but still I could feel I know myself, and I know that I can get bored quite easily. As soon as I enter in a routine, I become unhappy and I want to go somewhere else. So I knew that this moment, even if I was very happy with my friends, all of us were very exciting because we created this new group. But I knew that at one point, this atmosphere will fade away. And so I knew that I needed to go before that.
For Paul, as dark can be the world sometimes, he's one of these rare person thinking that there are still instants like magic stones to collect and to put in your pocket along the way. Someone to connect and share a song, a joke, your love for applesauce with. Even if it means going far from what you used to know, leaving people or the nest you built for yourself.
I started to think about all the plans I could do, like all my options. The first one was to moving to Barcelona, to keep working for the same company but in another city. My second option was to traveling, again backpacking for a few months. The third option was to stay in Amsterdam but find another job, maybe to keep me out of the routine. And the last option was to go back to Vietnam. I lived in Vietnam the year before. It's been difficult to make a choice, but finally, after a few months, I decided to go back to Vietnam. A few months later, I just packed my stuff and moved out from Amsterdam. Was very difficult. It was very, very difficult to say goodbye to those people. And I moved back to my parents' place, stayed there for 1 month, and take a flight to Vietnam. And so now I'm living in Vietnam. I don't regret my choices.
And that is the superpower of Paul. To give you this impression that if you want to, life is just about considering things like puddles of mud you can jump over while having a laugh at the same time. That you do not have to go for any checklist if you don't want to. In some cases, you will have time to fail 1,000 times.
What are the main advices you will give to your 14 years old self about relationship? Oh man. Wow. Oh man, that's so difficult. Fuck. Honestly, okay. Honestly, I will not give any advice about relationship because I'm happy of the choice. I mean, I made bad choices, but I'm happy I made them. It make me what I am today, and I think that's important to make mistakes in relationship. So I will just tell him like, "Hey, have fun, do whatever you want, man, and yeah, fuck you."
In other cases, things will go smoothly. But this should never prevent you from trying to look for what suits you, finding your own ways to navigate the vast ocean of your life, and getting amazed by what the world has to offer on the way.
About life in general, that's a good one. Oh, well, it will sound cheesy and like kind of stereotype, but focus on yourself. Really try to focus on yourself. What makes you happy? Don't focus too much about what make the others happy because at this age I was starting to think that I was happy if the others were happy, like the person I love were happy. It's not only that. You need to think about yourself. You need to think about what you want, what you really want, and keep learning. Just keep discovering new things. If you want to practice an instrument, do it. Try to learn new things every day. Be lazy also. You can be lazy, it's okay, but try to learn new things. Yeah, that's good. And make your life a story, an adventure.
I don't know where Paul will settle down or in which spot of this planet Earth we will meet again. One thing I'm sure about is that, contrary to what he thinks, Paul is one of these person contributing to make this world a better place with his jokes, adventures, friends, and connection he's creating in every place he's going to.
I definitely don't have an important influence on the world. I will never do something that huge, and that's not my goal. But I might have an influence on my friends. I hope so. I have an influence maybe on the way I see life, like staying positive and trying to live my life as an adventure, like showing maybe. I hope I show a bit to the people, like how life can be exciting, you know?
The last thing I'm sure about is that wherever his adventures are leading his path, he will need a big, big house to welcome all of his friends from all over the world and their dogs as well.
I want in my house like a cinema, a small cinema where all my friends can come and we can have snacks and watch movies and also play video games. So that's definitely one thing I want. I want a big garden for my dogs. So I was born right on the doorway. I went out in the rain, suddenly everything changed. They're spreading blankets on the beach. Yours is the first face that I saw. Think I was blind before I met you. I don't know where I am, I don't know where I've been, but I know where I want to go. So I thought I'll let you know that these things takes forever. I especially am slow, but I realize that I need you, and I wondered if I could.
I'm Émilie Audubert. You've just listened to Transmission, Episode 2, an auto-produced podcast. If you liked this episode, you can find it and share it on all your favorite podcast platforms: YouTube, Spotify, Deezer, iTunes, and on the website l'annéedupangolin.com. I'll see you for the next episode in English on the 19th of February. And you can still consult the original French version of this podcast with subtitles on YouTube on the 5th of February. Take care of yourself.